essentially essentially just wanting to go into these areas that are, as Wayne said, you know, kind of off the path, really getting into nature there.
And
And
also,
and oh, sorry,
go,
Wayne.
sorry, Luke, also to elaborate on that, before every workshop, we actually have a Zoom session with all the clients to prepare them for it. And everyone's on a WhatsApp chat group. And so they can ask questions. And so we make absolutely, we're sure that everyone is 100% prepared, not only with their photography equipment, but also the gear that they need. So everybody's comfortable and ready to go for every workshop.
Yeah.
And you guys, you're both so passionate about this. How do you share that passion with attendees?
That's an easy one. I'll start, Joseph, but it's you know, we're nature photographers. We're in love with nature, and it's in our blood. And sharing that passion is easy, I think. And understanding what light does to some of these amazing compositions that we're going to is just incredible to talk about and to get people excited about, right? And that's the thing. And the more you understand nature and the more you're out in it, like we're putting ourselves out there, the more you're going to fall in love. And the more you fall in love, the better your photography gets in nature. So,
Yeah. Well said, Wayne. And I would echo that in that first and foremost, this is a passion for ourselves, and going now, working with individuals and being able to share that. It's a true just blessing, and it's a gift all the time. Each one of these trips to go out with familiar faces and new faces all the time, being able to see the growth from the beginning of the workshop and to the end, from all of the days, the sessions that were out there shooting, morning, afternoon, night, the editing as well. It's just so much fun. Being able to share that with everyone.
right. And we all have that same passion. So, it's, we're all in this together. And I think, passing on that passion and the whole time in there, we're just immersed into this, this thing we call photography, into this craft. So it's just a great job. Hey, Dave Foreman, my friend.
So just for some context, guys, I've not been on any of these workshops, so I'm really excited to talk to you about them, to hear what you guys love about them. Let's jump in.
All right.
So Wayne, this is one of your workshops. You love Death Valley. What makes this such an iconic destination? I mean, people know it's an iconic destination, but what makes it so good for photography?
I think the beauty of Death Valley is there are a few iconic places to go, and we do shoot those, of course, but for the majority of the time, we're not in those iconic places. I think the thing for me, it's the vastness of it all. Whether you're into wide angle photography, intimate scenes, sand dunes, or night skies, you can do it all there. It's all about the textures and the tonal quality of some of the formations and the rocks that we take you to. And in my opinion, I think one of the most amazing Joshua Tree forests that there is. And it's better than Joshua Tree National Park. And the cool thing is, not that many people know about it, and we have it all to ourselves. And it's phenomenal.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
like, yeah, when I've spoken to you about Death Valley before, you say the lighting is just spectacular. What is it about the lighting? Like, is it the dust? Is it the atmosphere? Or is it just the
Yeah.
elevation? What is it?
Honestly, the Southwest, and this is my opinion, I think the Southwest is one of the most beautiful places to photograph in the world because of we have this dust in our atmosphere. And when you get whether the sun's rising, and especially at sunset, we get the sun coming through the haze, and it creates this beautiful atmosphere in our photographs. And then when you combine it, with scenes like we're looking at right now, um, this amazing blue hour scene, the colors, the textures, it's got it all.
And then what sort of things are you teaching in Death Valley? Like, what techniques, what styles are you teaching there?
It's everything. I mean, focus stacking, we're teaching intimate scenes, of course, night photography, and we're in the sand dunes a lot. And a lot of things that we love to talk about is composition. Composition's big for all of us, and why some compositions work, some don't. The weight of a composition, tangents within a scene, especially with sand dunes, making sure you have separation. There's a lot we talk about, and we go over and make sure that everybody understands that.
Yeah. It sounds amazing. And I mean, you love your astrophotography. Can you tell us a bit what it's like, a bit about how you shoot the night sky there and how you teach it?
Yeah, so the night sky there is incredible, whether we're shooting the Joshua trees or shooting in the dunes. The dunes, you have this amazing simple scene with the foreground. But to me, a night scene is just another landscape scene, right? It's all about the foreground, and the sky should be second. It should be about the composition of the foreground, and we make sure to include that. And a lot of times we're using our lighting techniques to light these foregrounds up. So it's a great place to practice that craft.
And we're camping a lot in Death Valley. Why do we camp?
Oh, camping is the thing with camping, and why we do it. It's because it gets us out there where we want to be. We're not having to leave a hotel room at 2:30 a.m. and drive, 3 or 4 hours to get to a location. We're already right there, and we're staying there. We're there for sunrise. We're there for sunset. We're there for the stars. The amazing meals that are provided, it's on location, along with our spacious tents, our cots, the warm sleeping bags. Another thing it does for us is it gets us away from people. We're on our own by ourselves, and that's really important to us.
And are we sleeping on the floor? How does the camping work?
No, we're in cots, really comfortable cots in very spacious tents, and the meals are just phenomenal. Most of the time, the meals, in my opinion, are way better than anything we eat in restaurants. They're really good.
I
And
have
you
to
were saying
second
when
that.
yeah, you've been there, haven't you, Jess? Yeah. You were saying when I was talking to you about it before that it's not all camping either. There are some nights in a hotel as well.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah, we spend a lot of nights in hotels because of, we're close to those locations. We need to be near that hotel. But when we're in areas that are remote, we want to be out there camping and be right in the middle of it and immersed in our location.
Fantastic. Any other thoughts on Death Valley, on where to go?
On what, Luke?
On why to photograph in Death Valley? Just
Oh,
any further thoughts?
there's so much. I think of one place that, for a pro photographer, when you talk about the one place you could spend, 6 months, a year photographing, 2 years, most people would say Death Valley because of the vastness, and there's so much to shoot there. It's so
Yeah.
unique.
I can't wait to go. I
Yeah.
I live in East Africa, so at the moment it's 4:30 in the morning here. But we're moving to America later this year. Me and Sarah, my wife's American, and I can't wait to go to Death Valley. Everything I've heard about it is just spectacular.
It is.
I can't wait to find you there.
We do
Uh,
actually have one question, Luke, if we could go back to
oh,
Death Valley just for a quick
yeah.
second. So Wayne, a lot of people know that you live close to White Sands, and they want to know how you would compare or contrast White Sands to Death Valley.
Great question. White sands is very white, and so it reflects whatever's going on in the sky. And also the dunes aren't nearly as vast or as big. So I shouldn't say vast. The white sands is huge, but the dunes aren't nearly as big and spectacular. The thing with Death Valley, you have much larger dunes, and they're not as vast in of an area, but they're every bit as beautiful. Marvin Moriarty, how you doing, man?
Yeah,
Good
what's
to
up,
see you.
Marvin?
So Joseph, this is yours. I mean, where is Patagonia? What is it like? Can you tell me everything about it? I mean, those peaks look amazing.
Oh man. Well, Patagonia, it's a bit of a journey to get down there, but once you do arrive in the little town of El Chalten, you're at the base of some of the most dramatic, beautiful glacial covered peaks that you see. And the light and the weather, um, I would echo Wayne and also saying that uh, Death Valley is a place I could shoot and shoot and shoot all the time, photograph out there all the time. I love it. Patagonia is another one that I love getting out to. This is the Argentinian side. This is Fitzroy and Cerro Torre, the two kind of larger peaks in this photograph. And then this is on the Lago Cerro Torre side a bit, outside of El Chalten, just at sunrise and just a beautiful morning.
What's it like? I mean, their bucket list destination for photographers. What is it like heading there for the first time and seeing it and being in its presence?
Completely, when you're there and you're looking up at these peaks, it's just completely just kind of it's astounding, really. It's just, you're looking at these dramatic, sharp, jagged peaks, and it's just breathtaking, really. And photographically, just the opportunities are everywhere.
And it looks wild and untamed. Like how wild is that place still?
That's one of the beauties about it. On the um Uh, this is the Chilean side, sorry, there. This is towards the Alpine there, and it's still so rugged and raw. That's the beauty of this entire area. You're in these little towns, and right here in this area, there's really not much besides, a couple hotels that are nearby, and you're out there, and the weather is just incredible, and that's what makes the photographs so real and come alive so well, and so much is like this: the water, the wind off this lake just crashing against the rocks. uh the whole area is really still quite uh you know out there, and that's what makes it so fun.
And is the weather changing a lot? Is there a lot of different
Yeah.
photographic opportunities connected to the weather changing?
Well, yeah, down there, in this area, the peaks can be shrouded in mist, and you might never see Fitzroy, but you tend to. It's just more of, you're really working for it, and it's incredible when they pop out. And the weather changes, from cloudy to rain and rainbows to blue skies. You have everything like this. This is the Cerro Torre side where we camp. Our camp is just it's down the trail and around the corner here. But that's the other beauty of this trip, is that we camp on this trip. And so we're at location, and we're not hiking out of town. And so this is twilight, sun's gone down. We got some stars in the sky, and you're just out there. It's just, it's enveloping.
How does hiking help people connect to this landscape? Like it's a very important part of the workshop.
Well, I think hiking, like camping, you're at the location, but with hiking, you're putting yourself there. You're getting yourself to this location. And as you hike, you're getting the smells, you're hearing the wind or the sounds in the forest, you're hearing the creek run, you're hearing everything, things that you normally wouldn't hear if you were driving or if you were in a bus. And catching the light at sunrise like this when rain is going over the peaks. Uh, just standing there and remembering, I should take a picture of this, but you're almost thinking like, I just want to look at it.
And can you describe what a typical day looks like? Is this workshop particularly strenuous, and what sort of altitudes are we looking at?
Yeah, so um, it's the workshop. Actually, we have it listed as a little bit more of a strenuous workshop. What's interesting about it, though, is once you come up out of El Chalten for the hiking, and the way we break this trip up is on the Fitzroy side, that area, we have um, camping for 2 nights, and then back into town camping for 2 nights, and then we move and we are in hotels. But the elevation for some of these areas is just 2,000 feet going up an elevation and then climbing up a few hundred feet or 1,000 feet maximum, and then you're on a plateau, And then once you're up there, you're just walking on a lot of flat area. So it's really more of just, when I am up there, you see everyone. I've seen elderly up there. I've seen young kids. I've seen middle-aged. It's not, I wouldn't say out of reach for many people, most people.
And you've seemed to have spent quite a lot of time in Patagonia. Like, can you tell me a time when everything comes together, when the light and the composition and the mood of the atmosphere comes together and just makes that perfect shot?
Yeah, when it comes together, it's the most incredible light. Anyone that has ever been to Patagonia is just it's just it's just otherworldly the way the colors come together at sunrise. And it's something that it's hard to describe. It's just, you've got these reds and these pinks, and it's just so vibrant, so saturated that it's almost where you would say, okay, enough, enough. It's too much. But but being able to photograph all the way, from early, like Wayne loves to shoot in the pre-dawn and getting that glow all the way through to sunrise. It's just once it all comes together, it's just amazing.
It sounds amazing. I can't wait to get down there. It's going to be beautiful. And we like a bit like Death Valley, we camp on this one as well. Why are we camping? Is it glamping or is it camping? How does it work?
It's a bit of it's kind of a bit of both in a way. Naturally, when we're camping, we are sleeping in tents, but we're sleeping on really comfortable pads. They're really well insulated. The pads are, the bags are warm. And then here on the bottom right, you see the yurt. That right there is a hardwood floored with tables and chairs, permanent structure up there at the base of the peaks. And we go into this area here, and it's just right next door to a kitchen that they have in another yurt. And so we're constantly eating, drinking warm tea, have hot food. And as Wayne said, I would argue and say that the food that we have in many of these camping trips rival or best so many of the places we eat in restaurants at times. Just the organics, the natural foods. It's just amazing.
And I mean, you're in South America. Is it inspired by South American flavors or is it
Yep.
Western food?
Yep. So the food, all the trips that I can think of, right now we do them all kind of based on where we're at. In the South America, it's a lot of that type of meals. Uh, when we're in other areas, it's based on that regional aspect and draw to it, influence.
I mean, I love my food.
I know. Travel for it.
So this is, I think you've both been to White Pocket. I know Joseph, I think you've been there a fair bit. It's one of the most surreal places on earth. What is it actually like though?
Oh man, Wayne, do you want to talk on this one a bit too?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in real quick and you can
Yeah.
finish it. But in my opinion, there's nowhere else in the world like White Pocket. It is a wide angle photographer's paradise dream. Although I would say intimate scenes aren't bad either. And the night photography is just incredible there. We're so far away from any city lights. Of course, we're camping right there. And it really is the perfect place for us to utilize the lighting techniques that we use. It's phenomenal. It really is. And I got to say hi to my friend Kevin Raber. How you doing, Kevin? How's the milkman, my friend? Joseph, go ahead.
Oh, well, so with this area, White Pocket, it's mesmerizing. The way the patterns are and the rocks, the lines, it's endless. Like Wayne was saying, you have these areas in White Pocket where you could say, like, hey, I'm going to go to an iconic spot per se. But I feel that in this area, that's what makes it so fun for photography, is there is no real area that you have to say, this is a tripod spot. I've got to do this. And what's also so incredible about it is being able to, and the way we are so far removed from, city lights and pollution, and, we're out there. It's usually just us, and we're out photographing the stars. We're up early. Man, it's just the compositions are endless, and the experience is unreal. It really is so much fun. That's why I've been half a dozen times at least.
True.
And what techniques are taught on this workshop usually?
Oh man. Well, like Wayne can go into it better than anyone when it comes to night sky techniques, but that's what we talk about so much. Um, is night photography, but then also compositions, looking at like finding leading lines and, you know, just finding these different approaches to the landscape that it's a challenging landscape in a way. And that's what's so fun about it, is to try to kind of explain and show, here's how we can move into the scene and here's how we can create this really beautiful dramatic photograph.
Yep. Compositionally, it's a compositional workout.
Yep.
Honestly, it's an amazing place.
And like this picture makes the stars and the dark sky look so dark. Is it actually that? Are the stars that powerful?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep,
And
they are.
we got to say the camera, of course, the sensors on the camera, when you leave a camera open, you know, for more than 10 seconds, you're going to get stars like this. The camera picks up more light than the human eye can see. You can absolutely see the galactic center of the Milky Way with the naked eye at White Pocket, which is incredible. But we teach everything from how to use your phone app to find the Milky Way and where it's going to be located during the day, so you can line up your composition and really look at it during the day when you can still see. And we talk a lot about, you know, because again, for us, it's all about the landscape. It's a nightscape photograph, not just shooting the night sky.
Right.
You know, we want you to come away with an incredible foreground as well.
And how big is this area that we're shooting in?
Oof. It's pretty large.
It's large. It's large, yet at the same time too, it's, you know, it where we actually kind of go within it, that's the beauty of it, is that it's not overwhelming. Would you say as well, Wayne? It's,
Yeah.
you know, it's a very manageable area that we work within. And then it's also got quite a bit of fencing around kind of where, you know, the boundaries are per se.
Right.
So,
Yep, and we'll take some day trips to some other amazing locations that are
man.
right in the area. But primarily at night, we're shooting in this location. And because we're camped there and it's so far removed, we pretty much have it to ourselves.
Yep.
And much like the other workshops, we're camping. Can you tell us a bit about the camping experience there?
It's
Go ahead, Joseph.
it's great. I mean, so you know what, I get so excited about camping. You know, I'm like a little kid with it, because it's like you're getting out and you're just, you know, I don't know, you're in the landscape and these tents and the food and the people and just being able to connect with the landscape and also everyone there that you're with in a different way than, you know, kind of going off to your rooms per se after dinner, and being able to, you know, you're just right down the, you can see this middle photograph, you know, you've got little neighbors out there. It's a little community, a pop-up community that we create. Muench does, and you know, nobody does it like us.
Well said.
And is there stuff to shoot during the day as well? Or, I mean, is this a night sky workshop?
Oh no, there's plenty to shoot during the day. It's and we do it all, you know. Depending on how late we are on, you know, out the night before, a lot of times we won't shoot sunrise. We do actually have to sleep, believe it or not. I don't, but everybody else does. Um, yeah, so it's really important that we do get our sleep, because we have to concentrate on what we're doing. So a lot of times we will sleep in the mornings, but if we're not out too late, we will absolutely do sunrise as well.
Yeah.
And when we're camping at these locations, are we still able to do image reviews and that sort of thing?
No, but the cool thing is we spend a lot of time in the dining tent, and that's the big tent you see there. We talk about, you know, we go over everyone's cameras and talk about different techniques. We talk about focus stacking, which is a great place to practice your focus stacking. You can see this photograph here on the right. This photographer here is focus stacking these oyos, these holes in the rock where the water is, make amazing focus stack, taking your eye through the scene. And so, you know, we do that during the day and talk about those things. So and then when the light gets good, we go out and practice those techniques.
And this one, Wayne, I've been told by the rest of the Muench team that this is your baby. You love this workshop. I mean, it's Colorado wildflowers, but is it just about the wildflowers?
It is not. There's so much more than just the flowers. And, you know, this workshop, it took a long time to put together. We scouted it. We kept trying to figure it out. I grew up spending my summers in these mountains, and then later as an adult, spending a lot of time hiking, mountain biking, and of course, taking photographs in this incredible location. With mountains that are, 13, 14,000 feet that rise above you. There's streams, waterfalls, high mountains, lakes everywhere. There's so much more than just flowers. The photography is endless here. And the time of year we go, yes, it's the peak wildflower season. And so it's just, it is absolutely one of my favorite places in the world. I doing this job, I get to go everywhere, but this place is just heaven to me. It really is. Yeah, but again, it's not just about the flowers. So, and the night skies, I gotta say, because the elevation we are at, it's like you can reach up and touch the stars. And we're far enough away removed from large cities that we have no light pollution. It's just an incredible place.
And can you tell me a bit about these? I've seen online. There's a lot of these old mining town sorts of pictures. What is the
Yes.
history behind that?
So in the 1800s, they were mining silver and gold in these locations. And it's really cool. A lot of the old mines and the ghost towns are still standing. So it's another thing we do during the day. We're camped out in this really beautiful location, and we get in these Jeeps. And I'll digress a little bit here, but the pros that do this workshop were all veteran off-road drivers, and safety is our utmost concern. So we take these Jeeps and we drive during the day, and we photograph some of these mines and some of these old houses, and also at night as well. But at times we actually go inside them because the light streaming through the cracks in the wood, it's phenomenal. And a lot of the old parts and the machinery is still inside the mines. It's so much fun.
So you mentioned the you mentioned the dark skies, but what other techniques are being taught on this workshop?
Oh gosh, with night photography, in this image right here, this is where we camp. And so literally you have world-class photography right outside your tent. And the tents are located, behind me and to the right of us. But at night we photograph this high mountain tarn, and what we're teaching lighting techniques. And for our particular way we teach night photography, we love to have detail in our shadows. So we're also teaching how to get that, and we're teaching lighting almost like we're doing portrait photography. And we're looking at the landscape like that with the lighting techniques that we use. It's very informative. And then once we're finished with the camping aspect of it, we head down to Silverton, Colorado. And Silverton is this bustling old mining town. And we stay at this great old hotel that was made in 1882. And during the day, we spend our days learning how to process these images and process our daytime images as well. And then, of course, in the evenings, we go out and photograph sunset and the night skies also.
And we're camping again on this workshop. We love camping.
Yeah.
Is comfortable? What are the tents like, and what is the food like, and what is the day in the life of this workshop?
So basically, mornings are spent around camp, and we're out photographing this incredible area around our camp, right? And then they'll call for breakfast, and there's always hot coffee on. You can get hot coffee as soon as you wake up, all the way into the evening if you want it. But we'll go out and they have snacks for us as well. But they'll call us in after the sunrise shoot. We'll come in and eat a really hearty breakfast, and then we'll spend that day again, teaching different techniques right there at camp. And then we'll take off in the Jeeps and we'll go to another location, whether we're photographing flowers or photographing a ghost town or photographing wildlife. And that's another thing I forgot to mention, the wildlife. Oh my goodness. From moose mule deer, bear, foxes, coyotes. It's just amazing. And of course, the marmots.
The marmots, the cute little things.
Yes, Don, please sign up. I will pay. Don, I love you so much. If you'll sign up on this workshop, I'll pay you. I'll pay you for it.
We do have a quick question. So some of our clients haven't camped before, so they're not familiar with things that they might need to bring. Is there
Right.
any camping experience, prior experience necessary?
Absolutely not.
No.
The thing, all you need to bring is a pillow. That's it. Everything else is provided for you. Before we go on the camping trip again, we do Zoom sessions with our clients. And of course, we're on the WhatsApp group chats, and we make sure all the questions are answered. So when you go, you're not, they're all answered, and you can just count on being there for just the photography, and that's it.
Yep.
You don't have to think about anything else. You don't have to think about setting up a tent. You don't have to think about where your next meal is going to come from. It's all provided. It's all immersed into photography.
Yeah, some of the questions coming in too are, will there be access to hot water? And I know that with our outfitters, there's definitely access to hot water, coffee, tea, things like that.
Yep.
And then also the bathroom situation, that is something that does keep coming up as well. So can we talk about the bathrooms? We should have added a picture. I had a beautiful view of the bathroom last
The
time
most
we went
beautiful.
in Monument Valley. The view was incredible from the
Right.
toilet. And then the same is true for Death Valley as well. So there are places to go to the bathroom. You do have a little bit of privacy.
You have a little tent that you have, and they have a toilet inside the tent. So you have, the privacy is utmost, for us. Yeah, it's really clean, sanitized. All the sanitation stuff is provided. It's a great experience.
I'd like to just add one more thing. Sorry, Luke. In the email that we sent out to a couple of days ago for tonight's webinar, every workshop that we're talking about right now and in this webinar is linked in that email. So you can easily click over to the workshop to view the information, see how much it is, see if there's spaces available, things of that nature. But just to let you know, every workshop we're talking about today did have at least one space available. So if you're interested in signing up for a workshop, check out the links in the email. Sorry, Luke, take it away.
No, all I was gonna say is I've been on 1 or 2 Muench workshops, and the one of the issues we did have was sometimes restaurants weren't open when weren't serving food when we were there, or we had to arrange logistics for the chef for the cook to be cooking when we needed to. And it sounds like on camping we have a chef already, and they'll be quite amenable to us for cooking for us when we're ready. So if we're out at 7 o'clock and it's sunset, actually we should be shooting, not eating. How does that usually work?
Correct. Yeah. That's a great, yeah. I mean, Wayne, you can talk with me about this one as well. Of course, like having someone there with you and cooking, really with you and for you and around your schedule makes these workshops like we're talking about here, that's what they're built around, is photography, is so that we can be out photographing in the most optimal light as we can really be doing. And then, coming back to either a hot meal after sunrise, or having a really amazing meal before we head out for sunset. And it's all about, kind of like really maximizing our time in the field, being like for productivity behind the lens.
Yep. Every day the pros have a meeting with the head chef, and we talk about when we need our meals,
Yep.
what we're going to eat, and if you have any dietary restrictions, that's also really important that we know that. And of course, we'll go over that before the workshop. And the meals are made for us, so specifically for us, what we like to eat. So it's just a great experience.
Yeah.
Talking of great experiences, Cirque of the Towers, this sounds pretty unique. Joseph, what is this workshop all about?
Well, this workshop is, I feel blessed to have been passed this one by Wayne. He didn't realize what he was giving up. No, we did. So I've been working on this workshop the last 3 years now, and every year it is just when we start off at one of the it's just one of the most amazing working ranches. It's outside of Lander, Wyoming. It's incredible. We pack our horses up and we horseback from that ranch 15 miles into this lower this lower basin here. Um, and when we pop out of the trees, looking at the Lizard Head meadows here in Lizard Head and the Cirque of the Towers, it is just unreal. It's unreal. And so the way that this trip is structured and how it's been designed is, we're really going back to kind of the culture, the ideals of kind of the West in a sense, by way of we're working with these wranglers, these ranch hands that are they're true grit kids. They're so awesome. They're so awesome. And they're packing us in. And so every client, everyone gets uh, 35 to 40 pounds of gear plus that. And so all you again have to bring on this one is, some sleeping bags, some small bits, but everything else is provided. And when we get back there, camp gets set up and it's just the most amazing experience being back there, and the food is unbelievable. The, I've had some of the best meals I've ever had in this camp by these wranglers, and usually it's always made at their home before we even get into the backcountry. They bring it with them. We had a gal a couple years ago that was a bow hunter, and she cooked us elk stew and brought it in, and so we had homemade elk stew for dinner one night. Other times they'll go fishing and they'll fly fish and catch, and we'll have fresh fish tacos at night off the campfire. They'll make pies. It's incredible what they do. So anyway, that's the food. You can see where my priorities are.
So it seems like a very frontier style
Frontier.
experience. Like what is it like to ride horseback into this wilderness?
Well, for riding the horses, for me, it's been one of the most exciting and learning things I've done in a long time. And it sounds daunting at first. And once you get around these creatures, they're so beautiful, they're so amazing. And then once we start heading out, we ride where we need to ride, where the trail is a bit rough. But then oftentimes we walk. And it's not a very challenging hike by any means. We're doing 15 miles, but we're starting at around 9,000 feet at the ranch and we're ending the camp at 9,000 feet. So what we're doing is we're dropping into a valley and then coming up out of it. And it's really nice trail, to be quite honest. And where it's a little more rough and rugged, the horses carry us through it.
And they carry our bags as well.
They carry our bags. And so thanks. I was going to mention that earlier was when we're going in, we'll have a caravan of up to 20 horses pulling everything in for just like 5 clients, 6 clients, and a couple pros. Uh,
And if I
And
could,
what techniques are you teaching on this workshop, Joseph?
hey, sorry, Luke, before you
Yep.
jump, if I could jump in real quick. We had a question come in about the horse riding experience.
yeah.
Honestly, you don't need any experience on riding horses at all. They go over everything with you
Oh,
before we get on these horses.
yep.
And these horses are just, they're so gentle and they know the trail so well. They're trail horses. And
Yep.
it's just a great experience. It really is.
I'd never had horse riding experience before this, and now it's, you do before we leave camp, we go through a full like how to ride, drive, steer, manage a horse, and like safety. But like Wayne said, these horses are some of the most tame. They know this trail inside and out. Um, it just, you don't need any experience. You really don't. We have people come that love riding horses, but you don't need it.
And
Can
you
you
said
talk
you had a
about
guy come twice in a row, 2 years in a row, Joseph.
I'm sorry.
You said you had a guy come 2 years in a row.
I did. I had a gentleman. Uh, last year was with me his second year in a row, same trip. The first year we got out and he kind of looked at me and he's like, I didn't know if he was going to come back. Basically, he was like, man, but he was like, that experience is incredible. And then he signed up to come back with me the second year in a row. He loved it. So that's just to say, it's just, it's a very friendly, welcoming trip in this regard.
And what techniques are you teaching here?
Oh, right. So really, with this trip, we are working all hours of the day when the weather looks optimal. And so we are doing, as Wayne has said, we're doing night photography if we can do night photography. We're working on, morning mist and shooting over lakes. We're working with polarizers. We're working with how to, dial the polarizers just right. We're, on top of that, some of the things we are teaching too, which is a lot of fun, is just navigation in the wilderness and kind of just being prepared and how to, you know, be in nature. Because a lot of times we'll have individuals that will come and say, hey, you know what, I've like tonight, I've never camped, or I've never, and talk about going from never camping to being on a horseback to being in the middle of the mountains for 5 days. And it's just it's a growing process too. It's just amazing. So photography, but we teach so much throughout the whole thing. It's truly an experiential based trip on top of
And
photography.
as a pro, Joseph, you were telling me that you have a higher certification to be doing these more wilderness expeditions. Can you tell us a little bit about the safety
Right.
aspect of this workshop?
Right. So, naturally, as we are we are a bit removed from medical attention, being 15 miles in the mountains. I put myself through a regular first responders EMT certification. And in fact, I'm studying for it right now to be recertified this weekend. But it goes through really intensive, how to basically be MacGyver with wilderness.
Um,
Yeah.
and this one is this is going to be one of my workshops this year. I'm not leading it, but I'm going to be joining it. And Greg Vaughan's going to be doing it with us, but unfortunately we couldn't get him here tonight. I mean, the Grand Canyon is amazing. But
Luke,
oh yeah,
Before can we go back to,
we go
I'm so
back. We got a
sorry.
question.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions. So how many hours a day do you plan to be on horseback?
So the horseback is just the ride in on day one when they drop us off. And then we are on foot for the next 5 days. And then they come back in and pick us up and we go back out on the horses. So it's just the first and the last day. It takes about 8 hours to get from camp or from ranch to camp. And so, yeah, that's that.
Okay.
And then
One last question is, what are the plans in case of a medical emergency?
So each one of us carries with us a Garmin InReach responding or a device. And we have all of myself and all of the clients, participants, we have Ripcord travel insurance, which is evac insurance. Uh, and if there is any need, it's tethered to my phone and I can text. I can let anyone know what's going on. We can text from the backcountry very similarly to at home, but that's not the idea. The idea is that we're just using that for emergencies. And then if anything needs to be done, helicopters will be the most likely, if it's severe enough, it would be a helicopter.
And that's also why we recommend insurance, so there's situations where you are covered from the start of the workshop to the very end. So if there is a medical emergency, we have the things in place that we need to take care of you, but then also it's your job to have the insurance in place so that, if you do need a helicopter or something like that is covered under the insurance that we recommend.
Yep. All
We
right.
can. I'm most excited about Grand Canyon.
All right. Okay. We got to
Sorry,
get.
go ahead,
No,
Luke.
that was perfect,
Jump
Jess. That was
in.
perfect. I saw that one pop up too, and I thought that would have been a perfect time to address it. So thanks for doing that. All right, Luke, Grand
So
Canyon.
obviously I'm not an American and I haven't my wife only takes me to California. So I am so excited to see the Grand Canyon and to to see it not only from the top, from the bottom as well. What is it gonna be like?
Wow. You know, it's just you're awestruck really when you're in there and being in the bottom. You know, I've done this workshop 2 years now. You get to go on this trip, and anyone that goes on this trip is just, it's another one of those trips where you're just in the middle of, you know, you're in the middle of this canyon that you're always looking at it from the top or seeing pictures from the top. But being and feeling so small in the middle of all this, it's just powerful. Uh, Being on the river every day, it's amazing. It's an experience. And it's one that, like, as we've talked about and I talk about all the time, it's one of those ones that's kind of a, it's you know, it's an experience that you never know if it'll always be there because
What do you
of
mean by that?
the water, you know, the river levels can get so low at times that, you know, it could get to a point where maybe the rafts can't go a year or two, or who knows what might happen. But, you know, they're always varying, but there could be, you know, risk of potentially it not being something that a raft could do.
And what sort of things do you see along the canyon?
Along the way, you know, we're photographing canyons, we're photographing, you know, really beautiful textures as we float, we're photographing the water, the waves. And then when we get to camp and we set up camp, and we do it as a collective, everyone helps out, we'll end up doing a hike like this one here. Our camp is just down below us, straight out there on one of the little bars. And we hike up to these granaries. And it's just incredible to be in this area that you would think, who could, you know, how could you survive here? Who would be here? And then going back and seeing this. And these are, when I'm in places like this, I think of people, you know, photographers, Wayne, who lives for ruins and lives for these kind of these Southwest kind of dwellings like this. And it's just incredible to see this. So on top of waterfalls and landscape, we see some of these, you know, man-made features that are just, you know, so incredible and so powerful. Um, then
Why is like this workshop combines adventure and photography to a whole new level? Like, why is the Grand Canyon the perfect place for that?
from day one, when you get in the water, it's it's the riding, it's going down the river in the raft. It feels like you're at a theme park for an adult, like a water slide or something, you know. It's like you're at Disneyland for an adult, and you're going, and then on top of it, you've got your camera with you. So you're taking pictures as you go of some of the most incredible landscapes. And this adventure, it's just an all-in-one, you know, you're camping, you're riding a raft, you're getting sprayed with water, you're taking pictures, uh, you know, you're swimming in these pools if you want to. It's just amazing to to be a part of.
Joseph, can
And
you talk about that? Can you talk about how your camera equipment is protected and how
Yeah.
that works? Sorry,
Beautiful,
Luke.
beautiful. So we utilize dry bags. Every everyone, we pack our bags in dry bags, and we put them underneath the in the rafts. And so they're packed away. We don't access our main photographic equipment. So some of these other lenses we might not need during the day. During the day, we're taking more of what would be kind of like a day small little dry bag, and just kind of one or two lenses, and running kind of lean, if you will. And so as the water sprays, it doesn't get any of your gear wet.
the raft guides know where the white water
And they
is, I
do.
imagine. So they're gonna
Exactly.
give you a 10-minute warning. We're coming
Yep.
up to the white water, white water, put your camera away.
Exactly. They'll be most of the river, a lot of the river looks like what you see right here. It's just really smooth, really flat. You know, you float along, you eat some M&Ms, and then you come to an area where you're like, okay, you know, here comes some rafts, put your cameras away. And then everyone move to the back, you know. So safety there again is paramount. Where these river guides they've been on this river. Some of them have been on this river for years. A gentleman we have worked with before, he's been on this river since the 70s nonstop. And he lives it.
And I mean, between all the pros, you've been scouting these locations for years. How do you make sure you always camp at the best photographic destination, like along the river?
Right. So having gone now the years that I've gone, and then Greg Vaughn going as well, what we've been doing is, as we've gone different years, we've been realizing and finding these optimal campsites that lend themselves to great landscape photography after you get off the raft for sunrise, sunsets, and throughout the night. And so as we've been doing this, we've been just fine tuning our our little notebook. And when we get with the guides, we tell them, okay, guys, these are the campsites we want to really try to make sure we hit. And so if we need to take out of camp early in the morning to get ahead of that camp that's downriver that we saw pass us, that's going to maybe get to that campground, we might need to leave a little earlier so we can get ahead on them. Or, but basically, we're just always aiming to strive. We're getting better every year, and it's just gotten better every year.
And you touched on the camaraderie earlier. Can you tell me a bit about what the atmosphere is like on this workshop? Like you're helping
Oh,
unload things from the boat and that sort of thing.
exactly. So that's one of the things that I find that is unique about this trip, that really stands out, that I love so much, is the camaraderie and the, the relationships that are built from day one to the end. And that comes by each day we wake up and we have to put our camp away. We have to pack up our tents, pack up our sleeping bags, pack everything up. But we also help the crew break down the kitchen or carry things down to the boat. And at the end of the day, we all kind of create a line and we pass our sleeping bags up one by one. And it's just kind of this hi ho kind of a thought, in a sense. Like we put everything together, and then everyone ends up, it builds this really, really fun camaraderie that I've just not seen before in other trips.
And I mean, is this a strenuous workshop?
No, this is a workshop. You know, we get to these like going up to the granaries, that photograph that was shown previously, that is a bit of a hike, and that is a bit harder to get up to. The thing is, though, going up to this area here, if there's anything you can't, or if you feel like you can't make it up, it's a trail. You can pause, you can shoot different areas, different, you can get as high as you want. Other than that, it's very flat. You're on the river, you're getting out of the boats, it's not challenging in that regard.
And I mean, are we teaching any techniques on this workshop, or is it purely just the experience of going down the canyon?
No, yes, we're always teaching techniques. The beauty and the fun of this workshop that is fun in that way is that we don't have access to our tripods during the days as easily. So we're having to learn how to photograph from a moving craft. And so that helps you, I think, get better at knowing how to photograph when you don't have a tripod. And then at the end, when we get to camp, we can then go and we can shoot the stars, or we can shoot night photography, or sunrise. Um, there's a lot of different, timings and different techniques and styles of photography that can be practiced on this type of a trip.
Hey, Joseph,
Wayne?
from Marvin Moriarty, what lens do you recommend having with you during the day when you're floating?
The 24, like Nikon's 24 to 200 or 120 is perfect. Anything in that range, I think of that because I know that's what Mark always would carry with him. I have the same lens for my Sony, and that's what kind of that same focal length. It allows you to shoot wide enough when you're in those canyons, and then you can, zoom in on detail on the rock walls as you, kind of slide past, and zoom in on you don't have a lot of wildlife there, so it's not necessarily to have a fast lens like a 2.8.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I think Marvin has the 24 120 f4, so it'd be
Yep.
perfect.
It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Fantastic. I mean, I can't wait to do this workshop, but it's going to be one of the
Oh,
highlights. I think it's one of those. Oh, yeah.
yeah, no, it's just highlights is the food too.
Hmm.
It's incredible.
I think it's a bucket list item for a lot of people to go through the Grand Canyon. Like just for me, how many miles do we go?
Oh gosh, this is Wayne, is it
Sorry to put you on the
200?
spot.
It's 200 and something miles, if I'm not mistaken. It's like 200 and, yeah, it's two something. Yeah. And
You get a good variety.
225 Don
225
Pine.
according to Don.
Yeah, thanks, Don. Yes, 225. And we do it in 8 days, and we utilize the motor on the craft to kind of move us through some of these slower waters. But the beauty of the Muench trips as well is we have two craft, and on each of these boats, there's a motor, there's a driver, and then there's a spotter, and then there's us, and we're spread out on these two crafts. Whereas one of these crafts normally would be packed with as many people as we have on one workshop on one of these guys.
Wow. Okay.
Where do you
So
put in and out when you go to Grand Canyon?
We put in at Lee's Ferry, and we come out Don Pine. If you're lit, do you know? Just guessing, maybe you have that. The name of where we come out. It's just up from Lake Mead, if I'm not mistaken, right there. And then we ride a school bus and head back to Flagstaff. Diamond Creek.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bruce is awesome, as usual.
Thanks, Bruce. Yeah. Great question. Great questions. Yeah.
So Wayne, like Utah's landscapes are iconic, but you've told me Wild Utah focuses on the less iconic places as well. What is it like to shoot in the San Rafael and Capitol Reef National Parks?
Well, Wild Utah is one of the oldest workshops that Muench Workshops has. And every year, in my opinion, it has gotten better. It's just incredible. So San Rafael Swell is a place that's not as well known. So we end up usually shooting in the less iconic places, and the rock formations that we camp around, these amazing juniper trees that we photograph. It's just a incredible workshop. And we camp in two locations on this workshop. One is in the San Rafael Swell, and then we go on to Torrey, Utah to get cleaned up. We do some image reviews and have some processing sessions. Sorry about my voice. And then from there, we'll go out again and we camp in the Cathedral Valley. And so we're camping in two different locations. And we're putting you in the best spots, and we're camping because we don't have to drive. And yes, we do shoot the iconic Temple of the Sun, Temple of the Moon, and that's what we're looking at right now.
And this is Cathedral Valley, right? What is it like to drive into Cathedral Valley for the first time?
So you can see these buttes and just how massive they're just, but these aren't the only buttes there. There's such an incredible diverse amount of these buttes and different types of rock structures. Again, these old dead ghost junipers and some that are still alive. It's just a fascinating place, and we're usually the only ones there, when we're at these at this workshop. It's one of my favorite workshops. I absolutely love Wild Utah.
What is your favorite sort of subject or way to shoot on this workshop?
I think I love the night sky, of course, because we are so remote where we're out, and and teaching these lighting techniques. Again, it's not about just the night sky, it's about our foreground as well. And and it's about the composition, right? So I love to teach that, but I love talking composition. It's all about, first and foremost for me, is composition. You can have incredible light, and if you have a composition that doesn't quite work so well, so what? You really don't have a good image. But if you can get a really amazing composition, and even if the light is so-so, it's still a beautiful photograph. But more often than not, in Utah, we're getting that incredible light and putting them both together. There's been more, I think, people go home and have images made to hang on their wall on this workshop than any workshop I've ever done.
And how do we usually make sure the astro conditions are perfect for shooting? How do we time it?
Well, we try to time it in a time when we're not in it through that monsoonal flow, where we're gonna get heavy clouds at night. We love the clouds during the day, of course. Hello, Paul Dusterhoff, my friend, my buddy, my pal. Utah is the bomb, my friend. And what we're doing is we're getting to locations, of course, where we don't have any light pollution. You can see in this photograph, there's absolutely no light pollution on the horizon. And it's just, you know, and then finding these amazing structures, whether it be these old mining cabins or these buttes to photograph and put in our scene. And also Goblin Valley is right there. So there's so much to photograph. It's incredible. And petroglyphs, pictographs, it's all there.
And we're camping twice. Can you run me through kind of the flow of the workshop?
Yeah, so we actually come into Colorado, and we fly into Grand Junction, Colorado, and we start the workshop there. Okay, we have our meet and greet, and then from there we take Suburbans and we head out. There's 8 participants on this workshop, and we go into Utah. And the first thing we do is go to camp, and depending on what's going to work out best, we look at the weather. We take all this into you know, we factor it all in, because we want the best optimal shooting for us, the time of shooting, depending on what's going on with the weather. So depending on if we go to Cathedral Valley first or into the San Rafael Swell. So we'll head to camp and we'll work all this out with our outfitter. We'll get to camp, get settled in, and then we're just diving into the photography and going into these amazing locations. We'll of course shoot sunset first, and then we'll do the night skies. Before we do all that, we'll be well fed, and we'll spend a couple of days out there driving around, looking at pictographs and petroglyphs and photographing them during the middle of the day, and then spending our mornings and afternoon and nights taking amazing photographs of the buttes. And then we'll go into Torrey, Utah. We stay in a really nice hotel there, and we'll get a good shower, and we'll work on our images. And from there, we'll also go out and shoot in that area as well. So, and then from there, we'll go out after a couple of days in the hotel. We'll be well rested. We go out on another location to camp, and again, do it all over again.
And obviously, we've been talking about camping a lot. Can we stand up in these tents? Or
Absolutely.
is it all
Yes.
hunkered down?
No, they're roomy. You can stand up. The cots, you can sit and take off your shoes. They're really nice. Yes. So thank you, Greg, for that question. When we are camping, we do take some power. We have a couple of their chargers or whatever. We can charge up our phones a couple of times. You know, people will need them for their breathing apparatuses at night to be able to, you know, so they can charge them. So we make sure beforehand we have plenty of power to take care of you. So David, the tents most of the time are double tents, and you'll have 2 people in a tent. We just don't have enough room in the camp spots that we have to have more tents than that in those areas, but they are plenty roomy.
I have a question. Wayne, you had mentioned something about having the breathing machines, so the CPAP machine. Is that something that we can accommodate on all workshops?
Yes.
Oh, see, I misspoke earlier. So whoever I told, the anonymous member, I imagine Praveen, you can use your CPAP machine on these workshops.
So let me clarify. It needs to be the CPAP machines that you can take camping, you know, that you can charge. It's not the ones that you use at home. And there's a special CPAP machine that we use.
Mhm.
Okay, so I didn't lie. Thank you.
You did not. But again, all that we can talk out and accommodate, you know, anything that we need. And we go above and beyond to make sure that everybody is comfortable and happy, and you have all that you need when we're camping.
Right.
And then Joseph, this is your favorite. Why is this genuinely your favorite workshop?
Oh, man. So this is a new workshop. This was mastercrafted by Andy, and it's we cycle through the Dolomites. We don't hike, we don't drive. We we move from town to town by way of going up and over the mountains with our cameras on our backs, and then we photograph along the way. And it's, for me, the reason why you asked me what I thought, or why I thought this was like one of my top three, if not my favorite workshop, it's partly because it incorporates, it has my favorite things all wrapped into one workshop. You know, photography, landscapes, mountains, nature, mountain biking, and then incredible food. And on this trip, it is an e-bike. It's we ride e-bikes for the being able to keep the group together, and then just kind of to facilitate getting up and over these mountains. Um, and so for me, it's just, you're out there and you're going into these settings, these scenes, like these mountains here. It's just outstanding.
And these peaks look huge. How difficult is this workshop?
So this workshop definitely is one of our more strenuous, challenging workshops, without a doubt. Um, we had 5 gentlemen on it with me last year, and everyone did fantastic. We were sore each day, but it also made that food taste that much better. And, every day, you're coming off the bike. It definitely is a little more of a challenging workshop, but the e-bikes really help a lot in getting up and over.
And what sort of elevation gain are we dealing with on this workshop? And what sort of altitude are we working at?
So, for example, some of these towns, for example, like one of the towns we're in, Ortizay, where we start off, would be, say, 4,000 feet roughly, approximately. And then climbing up and over a mountain pass that would be around 7,000 feet, or about 7,000 feet. So some of these days we can be climbing quite a bit, but that would be on the extreme. Some of these, most of the other days, it's more of just the miles that are in the saddle. Uh, so, you know, um, many of the days we're doing between 20 to 30 miles a day on these days.
And why do we want to cycle?
So the thing that I realized doing this trip, what I found that was made me kind of like a revelation moment, an epiphany moment, was the way that we could be, for example, right here in this scene. And when you are, 300 or 400 yards down the trail, and you realize that there's a rainbow potential, or there's a rainbow, but you need to get back to be able to photograph it. You climb on this bike, and within 30 seconds, you can be from one end of the valley to the next end of the valley, or back to the next end of the valley. So you're able to just get on this bike and go back and forth and back and forth. And it makes the photographic opportunities so, or that much more. That's the one big thing that I loved.
And apart from landscapes, what are we photographing? And horses.
We get wildlife. There's so many things on this trip that we actually get. So we have the amazing landscapes. We get these, some we do have in this area where we go. There's a lot of these horses that are out and about in the landscape, which, if you can imagine these guys with these, like the Seseda Ridge as its backdrop in the clouds, it's just, that's the kind of a scene that we get. Um, I think I mentioned to you maybe earlier, one of the other things that we get to see, and I'm just drawing a blank on that, and I don't remember if it's listed there, but it's, you know, we have so many different opportunities along the way, and it's really focused around, making sure that each day we are fueled and ready to go, and we ride and we shoot, and then we get to the next town and we eat and we get gelato at every stop.
Gelato, that's my favorite. Yeah. One of the big
Of
perks of being in
course.
Ethiopia is the gelato.
Yeah, yeah.
What does a day in the life look like on one of these on cycling in the Dolomites?
Yeah, so the day in the life of a cycling pro on this trip is you wake up in some of the most, we stay in some of the most absolute beautiful towns and accommodations. We have a phenomenal breakfast, we fuel ourselves, and then we get on the bikes and we ride. And some of these days, so what we have done for this next year, 2026 is the next round for this trip, is we're doing more of these lollipops. Like instead of going from town to town to town, which was quite a lot, now we're doing more of we stay at base camp and then we ride out, shoot in this meadow, for example, do a loop around this mountain, go back to town, and then we repeat the next day. And then we get back, we have dinner, and the days are quite long. It's Italy, and dinner just the way it's kind of set up, and a lot of times we'll be eating a bit later, but we've structured it now moving forward where we'll be able to eat earlier to go out and do sunset and not have to kind of try to structure all that in at the end of the day.
And can you tell me a bit about what the accommodation is like, and how do we get a taste for the Italian culture on this workshop?
So one thing that has set this up to be teed this off to be Italian and kind of like from the beginning is that our guide Alberto is a native of this region, and he's on the left in the photograph there on the first image. And we sorry, Luke, re-ask me that question. I just got lost in talking about that.
No, 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 it's fine. How
Oh,
do we get
incorporate the Italian.
yeah, how do we get a taste of the Italian
Yeah.
food and the culture and the way of life on this workshop? Because
So
this
that's
is
it.
potential Italy.
Yeah, so it's quintessential Italy. So we're with this Italian gentleman who knows all of these areas and restaurants like the back of his hand, like intimately from being from this area. So we're eating in these restaurants where it's a family cooking for us, and it's small, small. They're cooking for a few other tables. And then we're going to these just phenomenal accommodations like the refugios that we eat at when we stop for lunch. At night, we're staying at these hotels that or resorts that well, they're hotels that I've like never stayed at before. And it's just phenomenal. And being that we're in this small little group kind of moving along, we're getting kind of Italy at just piece by piece.
And what is this refugio thing? This is a word not many of us are familiar with.
So on a lot of trips, you will go and you will stay in refuges. They're little mountain huts. And so, they're kind of like a mountain hotel. And a lot of times they can be quite rustic to where, you'll be sharing a room with individuals. Well, we don't do that. We utilize these as we go throughout the day because they have phenomenal restaurants in them at the top of these mountains. And a lot of times they'll be at the tops of a ski resort or nearby, and like at the top of a gondola lift. And we're utilizing these as kind of like our stepping stone to get us to the next town or stopping for lunch. And then we we move or go back to town. But that's the refugee experience is it's these small little hotels essentially kind of set up in the mountains in the Italian Dolomites.
And can you tell me a bit about the support that the outfitter helps us with the
Yeah.
logistics and moving equipment, and if you can't ride one day?
So the beauty of this trip is that it's fully supported from your repairs to getting your gear from A to B to C. And if there's a day, I wish I had the photograph here. We had a client last year that he just was like, you know what, I'm going to take the day off. And he rode in the van to the next town while we worked all day long. And he sent us pictures, selfies of him all day going to get a massage. And then he was sitting in a hot tub and he was just relaxing. And if you knew this client, you know this is par for the course. And it was just, if you don't feel like you can be in the saddle, you can ride in the bus and just go to the next location or just relax.
And I mean, are the photo this trip is very much about cycling. Are there good photographic opportunities as well?
Incredible photographic opportunities. Absolutely incredible. And we're going to locations. Well, first off, we're carrying with us a pared down bit of our camera bag because we're on the bikes. So we're not taking everything with us. But we have everything we need. And as we shoot throughout the day, it's just we're going through these locations that you wouldn't get to see if you were in the car. And if you were on foot, it would take much more effort in ways to get to them. And then we're able to go back and revisit them. And the beauty also of this trip is we go to locations that a lot of individuals have heard of, the Seseda Ridge. Well, we don't go up on there, we stay down lower, and it creates this view of what looks like Patagonia when you're looking at these peaks because you're below them looking up at them. And that's the Valley of the Horses, essentially, where we just get all these horses as well. It's just phenomenal.
Is there anything else that you would like to say about this workshop, or Wayne, anything about any of the others? I think this was the last one.
This was the
Or
last one.
if any of the guests want to ask any questions, this is the time.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joseph, I've been multitasking. So Cynthia's asking, how many miles do you ride per day?
Per day, we can do anywhere from say 15 to 25 miles, somewhere in there. It can all vary. And and also too, like this next round in 26, the way that Alberto and we were building kind of tooling this trip later last year after I came home to make it to where those miles will be more of like kind of in and outs and not as much just travel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I think we've done a really great job of just keeping up with questions and asking them as they're relevant. So I don't have anything in the queue that needs to be answered right now. If there's anything that you guys can think of to add.
And
Just
I love seeing all the friends that have been
Yeah.
joining here. This is great.
Yeah. It's fun
There
seeing.
actually are two questions about Utah, sorry, Joseph, that came in. And one of them was, when Wild Utah is offered in spring and fall, is there a season that is better? What's the difference?
You're gonna put me on the spot.
I know, I'm sorry.
I love the fall anywhere I'm at in the Southwest. So for me personally, I love the fall. That's just me. So
Okay. And Anne was asking about, and I lost the question. She was asking, how does this workshop relate to the Wild Canyon lands? Wild Utah to Wild Canyon lands.
very good. That's a great question. So Wild Canyon lands, we're taking off-road vehicles and it's really rough to get into these really remote locations. I would say there's bigger buttes and we're not roughing it as much on Wild Utah as we are in Wild Canyon lands. There's still, of course, we're camping at Wild Canyon lands, and it's an amazing workshop, but it's not going to be as hard on you because of the off-roading and all that for Wild Utah.
Okay. And that's exactly what I thought. I misunderstood her question. So she's asking if you can link the two trips together. So can you do them back to back? I don't recall off the top of my head what the dates are.
That's a good question. I don't
I
have
can
it.
look at that. I'll look
Yeah.
at that and I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you, Anne, on that. The next question about Grand Canyon is, what lenses would you recommend? The 24-200, or would you recommend that they have a wide angle, like a 14-30?
Yeah, that's perfect. Good question there, because during the day, as we discussed, it's really nice to have like that kind of medium range for the boat, like 24 to 120 in there. But I always have and recommend your wide angle lens, like the 14 to 24. And if you have it like a 2.8, just so you can do some some star trails or star photography at night. And then that middle zoom, and there are opportunities for long telephoto as well, like the 1 to 400. You can absolutely use something like that, although I've not used that as much when I've been out as much as I have the other, like the 14-24, 24-120, or 200 in there.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you for
it's a
that.
great question.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of interest in some of these workshops.
Yep.
If you guys have further questions, you can certainly reach out to Wayne, Joseph, Luke, or myself. We're all very happy to help you make the decision that's best for you and talk gear and equipment and all the details. So if there's anything that we can help you with after the conclusion of this webinar, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're all very much available.
And to the question about if you could link both together, that's a pretty difficult one because there is some space between the two. And also both workshops for 25 and 26 are sold out already for Wild Canyon Lands.
Thank you for looking into that, Wayne.
There, just to mention, if I'm not mistaken, and we can look at this too, Jess, so correct me here, but the cycling trip, and so many of our trips are kind of built like that's a great question that was asked and brought up. The cycling trip, if I'm not mistaken, we have Slovenia kind of built around that nearby on calendar, and we have
Yeah.
Venice as well, that's built around that as well. And so, if there's interest on some of these other areas or other trips, they can really, you can link a lot of trips together that we offer.
Yep, for sure. Hey,
Okay.
Luke,
My
as
first
if you've hosted your first webinar.
webinar.
Congratulations.
Right. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Marvin. I didn't say hi to him earlier. Lovely to hear from him.
Definitely. We had a lot of really great people show up. We had a lot of really great questions. So we
Good seeing
appreciate-
David Roth here too as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
What's up, David Roth? Great. No, this was fantastic. Luke, thanks so much. Jess, Wayne, not saying that we're done right now, but this was great.
Yeah, I think we are
Excellent.
done.
We're done.
Hour and a half later.
Oh man, thank you everyone
Overran a
for
bit.
being here tonight. Everyone
Yeah.
showing up and being here, hanging out with us. This was so much fun.
It was
Definitely.
talking about our favorite workshops. It's great.
Oh, it's so fun.
Right.
All right.
Thank you,
Well,
everyone.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you all.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you, Dave Foreman.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.